Alright, so since the last video, there's been a major reroute for some of the early game. I always assumed that the quests you get from the police didn't get unlocked until after you've given Classy her meds because of the car cutscene right outside, but then a viewer popped in my stream and pointed out that the quests are unlocked much earlier, so that changes the order of events a lot. The drug dealer quest is unlocked by default, so we can grab that right before fighting the priest to cut down on backtracking, and then we could take down the drug dealer before Kyle's mom. Before going to the drug dealer fight, we want to change skills real quick. We're replacing our ultimate Grim Fate for Hyperspace Fury, as well as Double Edge for Quantum Fist, or alternatively, if you didn't do a class dupe, you would just keep your skills. The drug dealer has 100 HP and 2 move. Because the area is so small, he can hit us on his second turn guaranteed, so we want to kill him on his first turn. Double Edge also takes too long, so we want this to be a one-shot instead. Dire Shroud could also one-shot if you have the Touch of Youth DNA, but the artifact menu takes too long to open, so with class duping, it's better to just do an extra skill swap. Without class duping, you'd either swap to Touch of Youth and back so you can one-shot with Dire Shroud, or you can just take the hit and do 2 Dire Shrouds. Afterwards, we'll swap Quantum Fist back for Double Edge. Next, we're going to revisit Kyle's mom, because I ended up finding a faster strat. This time around, we're just going in with the default party of the Coon, Super Craig, and Captain Diabetes. The characters don't matter too much anymore. At the start, New Kid is going to stand right next to Captain Diabetes and everyone else will just skip their turns. This way, Kyle's cousin will use his laser to hit everyone to quadruple dip on the gauge charging. On the next round, New Kid will move closer and use a Dire Shroud for some damage and wait for the rest of the party to get hit by the lasers to fully charge the ultimate gauge. Now Captain Diabetes and Super Craig are going to move out of the way of the 2 middle rows, and then on the New Kid's next turn, we'll double edge into a single Dire Shroud to push to the next phase. Kyle's mom will move into one of the 2 middle rows and alternate Kai will follow behind her. I had to clear out these middle rows because there's a risk of causing Kyle's mom and his cousin to stand diagonally, which I don't want. On the next phase, I'll just walk up to Kyle's mom and use Hyperspace Fury to knock her out in one hit, as well as knock her into Kyle's cousin to take him out. No more time glitch and no other actions from the rest of the party. This strat saves about 8 seconds over the previous version that I showed last video. Now that we've gotten back to where we left off last time, we're going to head back to the police station to get the next quest to arrest a Kingpin, and then head to Crunchy's Microbrew to see PC Principal for the microaggression tutorial. The nice thing about this fight is that it's an auto-scroller with combat assist turned on, so this is the perfect place to take a break. Once we're done, we're heading over to City Walk to buy ingredients for the shrimp burrito and collect the yaoi that's in here for our 4th one. Next we're going to Skeeta's bar where we need to take out some more 6th graders blocking our way to the last ingredients. For this fight, we're swapping out Super Craig for Human Kite and Captain Diabetes for Mosquito. There's a lot of enemies all lined up for us, so we're of course going to do a double Ghastly Grasp to deal a massive amount of damage to all of them. We're standing at this position to keep New Kid from blocking anyone's way while also staying safe from any enemies. Next we'll have Mosquito use Zika Rush on a top row of enemies and have the Coon take out the other one with a Coon Lunge. The last kill will trigger a microaggression and then move without attacking. We can then take him out with a Laser Burn. Unfortunately, I haven't found a good way to cut out this microaggression here. You can skip it by delaying PC Principal's tutorial, but you'll lose more time from extra cutscenes stopping your movement. Or alternatively, you can disable combat assist and save about 3.5 seconds, but you have to play without combat assist for the entire run, and messing up on just one important QTE will lose more time than you saved. Before we grab the Roof H cheese, I'm going to swap Human Kite for Super Craig and activate a small glitch. By opening the character selection wheel and quickly closing the menu before it's finished loading, I've actually loaded up the characters above and below Super Craig, which in this case are Captain Diabetes and Human Kite, and will keep them permanently in the world. This glitch leads to some fun effects such as the loaded in party members talking as if they're present in combat, which doesn't do much outside of letting us hear more of the game's dialogue.
FastPass has no fear of your chaos disruption?
No, FastPass, your speed is only relative to that chaos.
That's dumb.
I thought that was really good banter personally.
But it does have one small benefit, which is that if I do a buddy action with a buddy that's been loaded in, he'll just walk over to me instead of having the New Kid text him to swoop in. The time save varies from buddy to buddy. Human Kite saves about 2.7 seconds per buddy action and has 3 actions. Captain Diabetes saves about 1.5 seconds and has 5 actions. Later on, we'll also do the same for Professor Chaos and Toolshed. Professor Chaos saves a whopping 4.5 seconds per action and gets used 6 times, while Toolshed saves 1.2 seconds but only works for 1 buddy action. Though he does actually skip 1 cutscene in the future, saving about 10 seconds. There's a few buddy actions that don't work with the glitch for some reason, so in total we save about 45 seconds from this glitch. There is, however, one potential benefit or drawback, which is that characters that are loaded in will have their victory lines added to the pool of choices.
For truth, justice, and everyone who's ever hung out with me.
This means that at places like the Kingpin fight where we normally have no allies, we end the fight with a victory line, which loses some time. Not all fights will wait for victory lines to finish before the victory screen pops up, but some, like the Freedom Pals 2 fight, do, and with the party that we have, something like Mosquito's line where he says, "Give me a moment to drain all these corpses," takes about 3 seconds longer than his "Hooray! Limit bars for everyone" line. There's a lot of dialogue and I haven't bothered timing all of them, so it's hard to say whether this on average adds more dialogue time or cuts down on dialogue time, though ultimately it comes down to RNG anyways. After grabbing the roof H cheese, we'll return to Main Street where we'll meet the Raisins girls in the alley. We're alone for this fight, but there's nothing to worry about, they're all really weak. We're starting off with a Ghastly Grasp on the right side where there's more enemies. We only want to move down one space here and not two, or else one of the Raisins girls on the left can actually reach you. Then we're moving below the surviving Raisins girl and use Dire Shot to take her out as well as get out of range from the others. We'll then do the same on the left side to push to the next phase. All we need to do here is time glitch Rebecca and the fight is over. Moving along, we're going to learn the next time fart power, Time Pause. This is the most broken skill for the sake of this category, so we'll be seeing this in a lot of fights moving forward. This skill skips an enemy's turn just like Time Glitch, though it doesn't trigger any debuffs. On top of that, you can freely move around and punch enemies for 8 seconds, giving us up to 5 or 6 punches at 80% potency that scales off Brawn, putting us at 112% per punch with Alien DNA equipped, or 120% with Psycho DNA. The only drawback is that we can't take advantage of crit outside of one artifact, which gives a 50% chance at crits. But because of the way the fights have been routed, that's no issue. Time pauses are a little weird because in some fights, I can move and attack as soon as the time pause starts, which means I can get up to 6 punches. But on others, there's a small delay that makes 5 hits the max. I don't know why this is and whether it changes from PC to PC or PC to console, but at the very least, it feels like a consistent thing for each individual fight. While there is also the power to summon our past self as well, that one requires an extra side quest to do. Optimally, it takes about 3 minutes to grab it, plus we need to spend $30 to buy the recipe itself. On top of that, our past self still wastes time with extra attack animations. We already kill enemies so fast in this category that it's unlikely to save the time it takes to grab. Moving on with the run, we're going to see our gaming buddy Tally to pick up Classy's meds.
Oh, Classy. Yeah, Classy with a Y with the clit hanging off it, coming around and licking the shit out of the sea.
No, it's Classy with a dick hanging off the eye that's fucking the L out of the ASS.
Unfortunately, it looks like Tally's mad and possibly still holding a grudge because we forgot to bring a towel. But no worries, we'll calm him down with the power of marijuana. The win conditions for this fight are different. Tally's invincible, so instead of defeating him, we actually want to burn all the piles of weed to get him high and calm him down. While this fight may have seemed like a pain casually having to navigate around the grid while on fire, there's actually a really easy way to beat it. First off, we're going to skip our turns so that Tally burns a new kid. Then we're going to time pause the next guy and just run around to burn all the piles. We'll then end off by punching this guy here. That wasn't to avenge Carbon or anything, by the way, we really do need to punch this guy. If we don't damage someone, the fight resumes. Punching someone instantly ends it. We could also do it in one turn after the new kid gets burned by using Double Edge, but Tally gets dialogue for every pile of weed we burn, so it ends up taking longer. One more thing to note is that you can't move the new kid closer to Tally to save time from him walking to me, because that actually blocks off your way to the last pile. That's just something that I had to learn the hard way. We're off to arrest the Kingpin next, but we need to take out his security team before we can get to him. This one was a nightmare to route, but the result is beautiful. This was a very specific party setup I had to figure out to bring Super Craig into the party while getting the perfect enemy placement. The goal for the fight is to get everyone into a conga line, but the security guard is blocking the way. We're going to start off by having the new kid move into this exact position and skip his turn. The dogs will then move into position for us. I specifically want 2 dogs in the middle here and 1 dog to branch off to the top section. We're then going to have Mosquito move and attack the head security guard. Next, the Coon will move the head security guard out of our conga line with a Coon Pounce. Super Craig is going to the conga line next and taunt the nearest dog from this position. Now the new kid's going to move into the conga line and use Dire Shot on the head security guard, which gets him low enough to summon the other guards. On the top dog's next turn, he'll link up the head security guard with a chain of enemies. With this setup, none of the enemies can attack anymore, and the enemies are in a position where Ghastly Grasp will hit all of them on the field. Then on the next round, we're going to double edge into 2 more Ghastly Grasps to kill all the enemies. This setup took a very long time to find because of all the quirks of the combat system, but it saves a good chunk of time over the older variation of the strats. First off, we need a mosquito in the team because for some reason the dogs have this weird tendency to target Fast Pass. I don't know what it is about him, but that part of the AI completely messes with his fights, which is why I chose to use Mosquito in the stretch from the 6th graders until now instead of Fast Pass. Also, as a side note, another weird quirk of combat is that if you swap a party member in the pre-battle menu, the party member retains the previous person's targeting priority. So if I had Fast Pass in the party and swapped him for Mosquito in this menu, it would mess up the strats. This could potentially be useful somewhere as it's another way to manipulate the enemy's AI, but so far I haven't found a use for this trick yet, and it's only gotten in the way. This exact setup at the start made it so that the top dog would go into the diagonal on its second turn, linking up the head security guard, and the other 2 dogs would get trapped in the middle row, which blocks off the 2 security guards who both have a ranged attack that causes confusion. Super Craig is here because taunting an enemy who cannot reach him causes an enemy to just not attack at all, saving some time. This is actually a trick I learned from watching Dro and Nux's no-hit run of this game. Finding a way to shove in Super Craig was easily the worst part as he needs to be in this exact space due to only being able to move 2 spaces. At one point, I even had Fast Pass use Transporter to get Super Craig into position, but the best setup I could find required an extra save and load, so it ended up being significantly worse than this strat. Also, we used to use time pause this fight to kill the head guard, but being able to link up the head guard to the chain of enemies saves time by cutting that out as well. After we skillfully hack into the security system, we're going to go upstairs where we face off against the Kingpin. The Kingpin only has 1 move, so we can just go out of range and Dire Shroud from safety, taking him out in only 2 turns.